اهلا بيكم في كايرو دار. النهارده هنعمل ريفيجن على مجموعه biology questions كده. ريفيجن شابتر 7 8 جيناتكس دي ان ايه. نعمل تشيك كده نشوف اخبار الدنيا ايه. هنبدا كده باول multiple choice questions. The first questions will ask about the number of tarsus of the man's foot. The tarsus of man's foot consists of dots bones 3, 5, 7, 9. Of course, the right answer is 7, and the biggest one is the heel bone. The next question. The recessive character is the character which appear in the ratio of number A, a quarter of the individuals of the F1, number B, half of the individual of the F1, number C, half of the individual of the F2, number D, quarter of the individual of F2. حين لما يسألنا على recessive character نعرف إنها في ال F1 0%، في ال F2 3 dominant to 1 recessive means 25% or quarter in F2. So the right answer is D, quarter of individual of F2. Number 3. In DNA molecules, the nitrogen species is attached to the pentose sugar by dots bond. Covalent bond, number B, ionic bond, number C, 2 hydrogen bonds, number 3 hydrogen bonds. أي حاجة connected with the sugar by covalent bond على طول، فهستبعد كل الانسرز ديت وتبقى right answer number A, covalent bond. Number 4. If the abnormal ovum is fertilized with the sperm X and produce female containing 3 bar bodies, the chromosomal structure of the ovum is dots. بيسألني على النمبر اوف بولار باديز، بيقول لي ان 3 بولار باديز. طالما 3 بولار باديز لازم تبقى 4x. طب هو قال لي ان سبيرم معاه x، يبقى دي واحده، يبقى لازم في 3x اوفم، يبقى the right answer is number C, 22 triple X. Number 5. One of the following disease is caused by recessive gene. Number A, hemophilia, number B, high blood pressure, number C, premature baldness, number C, shortness fingers. Of course, the right answer is the hemophilia, which is a recessive disease. So that is the right answers of the questions from 1 to 5. The next questions. The hyaluronic enzymes works in dots. Number A, seminal vesicles, number B, corpus body, number C, the fallopian tube, number D, testes. We understand that the hyaluronase enzyme or the hyaluronic enzyme, which is secreted from the acrosome of the sperm, that's help in dissolve a coat around the ovum during its penetration or fertilization. And the fertilization takes place at the first part or the first third part of fallopian tube. So the right answer is number C, the fallopian tube. The question asks about the site of action of the hyaluronase enzyme, not the site of the secretion. Number C. Number 7. The size of vertebra number 20 is dots. The size of the vertebra number 19 in the human vertebral column. Number A, smaller than. Number B, equal. Number C, slightly larger than. Number D, much larger than. لما يقول لي 19 و 19 it is the last thoracic vertebra, number 20 the first lumbar vertebra, so the vertebra number 20 is slightly larger than number 19. مش هينفع تبقى smaller ولا equal ولا much larger، مش هتبقى 19 وبعدين 20 اكبر قوي، لازم في symmetrical في الvertebral column. Number 8. So the right answer is number C, slightly larger than. Number B, the integral time of the pregnancy in cattle about. The answer is 11 months. That's the right answer. Number 19. In the case of the complete dominance, the recessive individuals is always pure, sometimes hybrid, always hybrid. Number D, sometimes pure. Of course, the recessive individual must be or always pure. So the right answer is number A, always pure. Number 10. All the following cells are diploid except the dot cells. the diploid cells or the human male body is diploid except sperms, spermatids, secondary spermatocyte, and also all the human female body diploid except the ovum and the secondary oocyte. So the question asks about haploid cells. That means all the following are diploid except number A, spermatogonia diploid, number B, corpus luteum diploid, number C, the secondary spermatocyte. Of course, the secondary spermatocyte, spermatids, and sperm is haploid. So the right answer is number C. Also, number D, the primary oocyte, is diploid. That's the right answers of the questions from number 6 to number 10. The next question. If the ovary are stop working, the DOTS hormone increase. Number A, estrogen, number B, progesterone, number C, FSH hormone, number D, relaxin. The stop the ovaries actions, that means that decrease or stop the secretion of estrogen and progesterone hormone. That's not increase. So number A and number B is not right answer. Also, number D is not related to the removing of the ovary, but the relaxin hormone, that hormone secreted during the pregnancy or at the last months of the pregnancy. But the hormone which is secreted from the pituitary gland or the anterior lobe of pituitary gland is FSH hormone. So if the ovaries are stop working, the FSH hormone increase. Number 12. A man married a woman, both of them with the normal hair. They produce a child, become bald when he reaches the sexual maturity. So the genotype of the parents are, الحقيقة لما يبقوا two parents normal hair, يعني no baldness in the male or fallen hair female, that means the male should be B capital without any plus. But the female, the normal female with 1 plus or without any plus. But if one of the offspring with the baldness during or after the maturity, that means the female is B plus B. So the right answer is number B, female B positive B, and the male B. The next question. The distance between each two successive Z lines in the myofibril is known as dots. Number A, sarcoplasm, number B, sarcomere, number C, sarcolemma, number D, semilated area. Of course, the distance between two successive Z lines is called the sarcomere. The next question, number 14. The physiological support implant is represented by dots. We understand that the support of the plant is divided into two types. The first is a physiological support due to the presence of water, which acts as a temporary support. The support is located at the presence of water, and the absence of water means the absence of the physiological support. But the structural support due to the presence of the substance as a suberin, the cellulose, the lignin on the plant wall. So the first answer is the thickness of the plant cell to prevent the water loss in plant. Does not act as the right answer because the cuteins cover the epidermal cells of the plant that to decrease the water loss, and the presence of cutein on the epidermis does not act as a physiological support. But the right answer is number B, is the turgidity of the plant cell. But number C, the turgidity of the vessels filled with nutrients does not act as a support, at the physiological support. The deposition of the cellulose on the cell wall also that's act as a structural support. So the right answer is number B, the turgidity of the plant cells. That's the right answers of the questions from 11 to 14. The next type of questions is choose from column B what's suitable for the column A. The column A ask about the binary fission, number 2 budding, number 3 regeneration, number 4 sporogeny, number 5 parthenogenesis, number 6 the tissue culture. The column number B, the method of production in pea and aphid insect. We understand that the type of asexual reproduction takes place by the parthenogenesis or the natural parthenogenesis. So number A with the answer number 5 from the column A. Number B, the methods of the reproduction in bread mold and the mushroom. Bread mold and the mushrooms are types of fungi, so the reproduction takes place by sporogamy, number 4. So number B related to number 4, sporogamy. Number C, the methods of production in carrot and tobacco plant. The experiments are carried in tobacco and the carrot plants, that's during the explanation of the tissue culture. So number C, the methods of reproduction in carrot and tobacco with the number 6, tissue culture. Number D, the methods of reproduction in amoeba and paramecium that takes place by binary fission, number 1. Number E, the methods of reproduction in Spirogyra and Adiantum. In Spirogyra and Adiantum, Spirogyra produced by the conjugation. In Adiantum, the reproduction takes place by alternation of generation. So number F, the methods of reproduction in yeast and the hydra that takes place by budding, number 2. Number G, the method of reproduction in planaria and starfish that takes place by regeneration, number 3. So the right answer of the questions of the column A and column B, 1 with D, 2 with F, 3 with G, 4 with B, 5 with A, and 6 with C. The next question. Choose from column B what's suitable for the column A. Column A, deoxyribonuclease enzyme. Number 2, DNA helicase. Number C, DNA polymerase. Number 4, the ligase enzymes. The column B repairs the defects in DNA. That's the ligases enzymes, number 4. The ligases enzyme determines the defect in the DNA and forms a suitable nucleotide to repair the damaged parts in DNA. And we understand that the ligases enzymes need the presence of the genetic information or complete genetic information in one of the two strains to act as a template to repair the other one. Number B, the degrade RNA completely or degenerate RNA completely. That's not right answer of the column number A. But number C, degenerate the DNA completely. Of course, the deoxyribonuclease enzyme complete hydrolysis DNA and do not affect RNA. So the deoxyribonuclease enzyme degrades the DNA completely. Number D, add new nucleotides in the direction of 3'. We understand that adding nucleotides or monomers to form the strand of DNA in the form of polymers that act as a DNA polymerase enzyme, number 3. Number F, the separate DNA strands. That's the action of the enzyme which is called the DNA helicase, number 2. We understand that the DNA helicase breaks down the hydrogen bonds between the nitrogenous bases to separate the two strands of DNA to allow each of them to act as a template to form the other one. The next question. Deoxyribonuclease enzyme, that's the answer of the question of column A and B. 1 with the C, 2 with F, 3 with D, 4 with A. The next question. Give reason for each of the following. Number 1, the presence of girdles inside the appendicular skeleton of the animals. The presence of girdles, the two girdles in the skeletal system of the human being is the shoulder or pectoral girdle and the pelvic girdle. The pectoral girdle consists of two identical halves. The clavicle, each half consists of clavicle and scapula, and the pelvic girdle consists of also two identical halves. Each half consists of 3 fused bones, which are ischium, ilium, and pubis. So the presence of the girdles is that to facilitate the connection with the forelimbs and the hind limbs and facilitate its movement, or the using of the forelimbs and hind limbs due to the presence of the wide joints at the shoulder and the thigh joint. The shoulder is a joint that formed due to the presence of the head of the humerus in the glenoid cavity of the scapula, but the thigh joint due to the presence of the head of the femur in the acetylum cavity in each side of the pelvic girdle. But the question number 2, the sliding theory of the muscle contraction is the most acceptable to explain the muscle contraction. We understand that Huxley explained the action of the contraction of the myofibrils by the presence of 2 images of the myofibrils, one of them during the contraction and the other during the relaxation. And he observed that the presence of the transverse link that produced from the or extended from the myosin filaments and attached to the actin filaments, causing contraction or sliding of the actin filaments as the 2 sides of the myosin filaments that decrease or shorten the myofibrils that takes place during the contraction of the myofiber. The next question. Give reasons the presence of the enzyme cholinesterase at the neuromuscular junction. The cholinesterase enzyme, we understand that it's degenerate or hydrolysis or destroy the acetylcholine after performing its function. The membrane of the muscle plate is polarized. It means the outer membrane is positive but the inner is negative. When the acetylcholine get on the muscle plate, that leads to the passage of the sodium ions inside the membrane, so that leads to change the state of the muscle plate from polarization to depolarization, so that causing contraction of the muscle. So to allow the muscle to regain its repolarization, we need to remove the acetylcholine. So the cholinesterase enzyme destroys the acetylcholine after performing its function to allow the muscle return its normal state, which is called the repolarization, to be ready to stimulate it to respond again. The next question is cultural tissues, which is called the tissue culture, have a special importance. We understand that the tissue culture has 3 importance. The first is shorten the time of cultivation. Number 2, it solves the food problem. Number 3, propagate the rare plant or the desirable plant. So that's act as the importance of the tissue culture as a kind of asexual reproduction. The next question. The symptoms of malaria fever appear each 2 days. We know that when the merozoite get inside the RBCs, it divides by fragmentation or schizogony into great number of merozoites, and the rupture of RBCs takes place after 2 days. During the rupture of the RBCs, the presence of huge number of merozoites with the toxic substance, which is called the hemosin, get out from the RBCs. That leads to the appearance of the malaria disease, or the appearance of the symptoms of malaria disease, as the shivering, sweating, increase of the temperature. So the malaria is called the malaria fever due to increasing the body temperature as one of the symptoms of the malaria disease. The next question. Gametophyte of adiantum containing rhizoids. The rhizoids acts as the roots of the gametophyte. It is similar to roots, so it's responsible for the absorption of water and the salts from the soil to allow the gametophyte to grow and produce gametes from the reproductive organs that located on the gametophyte. The next question. Wheat is called grains, but bean is called seeds. دايما نقول على الويت حبة القمح، ما بنقولش عليها بذور القمح. لكن يجي عند البين بلانت، عند الفول نقول عليه بذور الفول، ما بنقولش عليها حبوب الفول. الفرق فين؟ الفرق لما اجي اقول ان انا بتكلم عن seed دي located inside the fruit, and the 2 integuments are hardened around the embryo sac to form the testa around the seed. Testa لما اجي اشوف القشره اللي بنشيلها من الفول ديت او الترمسه اللي بتقزقزها دي، اهي القشره دي هي اللي بتبقى التست. ده موجود في السيدز بس اللي دايما نلاقيها جوه فروتس. لكن لما اجي اشوف الويت بلانت، لا الويت بلانت ده بنقولش عليه سيدز، ده بنقول عليه جرين، علشان التو انتجمنتس with the ovary wall, all of them are hardened around the embryo sac to form a grain. So the grain act as a one fruit with one seed. Therefore, the weight is named as a grain because the two integuments of the ovule and the ovary wall fuse together to a single wall, forming a single seeded fruit. And so it's called a grain. But the two integuments of the ovule harden, forming the testa, while the ovary form the fruit, but the ovary wall form the precarp. The next question, the micropyle hole is found in both of ovule and the seeds. In the ovule, the presence of the micropyle allows the passage of the pollen tube to get inside the micropyle to facilitate its penetration and fertilization takes place. But the micropyle is still inside the seed to allow the passage of water during the germination of seeds. لازم يبقى في فتحة صغيرة موجودة في السيد عشان تدخل منها المية عشان السيد تعمل germination. ده موجود، لازم يبقى موجود من أول ما كانت أصلا ovule أو من أول ما كانت flower. Next question. Moved before the 4th month, a portion occurs. Understands that the corpus luteum responsible for the secretion of estrogen and progesterone hormone. Estrogen and progesterone hormones are responsible for increasing the thickness of the endometrium and increase its vascularity. Also increase the adhering of the endometrium inside the uterine muscles. So the removing of the corpus luteum before the 4th month, that means the absence of the estrogen and the progesterone. That means the endometrium will decrease and will get out from the uterus with the embryo, so that's called the abortion. But after the 4th month, the placenta will form it, and the placenta produce the estrogen and the progesterone hormone, and the degeneration takes place at the 4th month of the corpus luteum. The next question, sugar phosphate backbone is not symmetrical because it has the defined orientation with the free 3' end with the OH and the end of 5' with the phosphate group at the other end. يعني one of the two strands with the 3' end but the other one with the 5' end, because the 3' end connected with the hydroxyl group, but the 5' end is connected with the phosphate group. The next question. In bacterial transformations, the non-virulent bacteria convert into virulent one. We understand that the non-virulent bacteria are bacteria causing pneumonia disease but not leads to death of the mice. But the transformation of the non-virulent bacteria into virulent means the non-virulent use the genetic material of the virulent bacteria and they change into virulent. So that act as one of the evidences that prove that the DNA is genetic materials. The next question, DNA polymerase can't use for the replication of the two strands of DNA. The two strands of DNA are separated by helicase enzyme. The DNA polymerase follow the helicase enzyme but act as a direction from 5' to 3' end. It add nucleotides to the 3 ends. So it acts at the direction from 5' to 3' on the new strand, but can't act as a direction from 3 to 5' end, but just add pieces of DNA on the other strand. So the DNA ligase can join the pieces to form the other strand, but the DNA polymerase run at one direction from 5' to 3' end, follow the helicase enzyme. But the DNA ligase enzyme runs as the opposite direction of helicase and DNA polymerase, but from 5' to 3' ends. The next question. Write scientific term for each of the following. The 4 cells which are resulted from the meiotic division of the spore mother cell during the pollen grain formation. We understand that the primary germ cell can divide by meiosis into 4 cells, each is called the micropyle. So the 4 cells are produced as a result of meiotic division of the mother cell or the spore mother cell during the formation of the pollen grain is the 4 micropyle or the micropiles. Number 2, the geometrical drawing like chess show the male and the female gametes. That's the shape during the genetic problems, which is called the Punnett square. So it's the right answer is the Punnett square. Number 3, genes are not linked completely due to the crossing over, like they are inherited independently. The genes are not linked completely. So the right answer is the incomplete linkage, where the presence of crossing over and the presence of the tetrad and the exchange of the inner chromatids takes place. The next question, a group of nitrogenous bases has single rings. We understand that the nitrogen bases are divided into purine nitrogenous bases as A and G, each consists of 2 rings. But the pyrimidine nitrogenous bases each consists of single ring as a T and C. So the question asks about a single ring, it's the pyrimidine nitrogenous base. Number 5, a rounded bone like the lies anteriorly to the knee joint. The question asks about the circular bone or rounded bone as a knee joint. The rounded bone is called the patella. Also it's called the kneecap. في العربي بنسميها صابونة. طيب. The right answers of the questions from 1 to 5. Microspores, Punnett square, incomplete linkage, pyrimidine, the patella. The next question. Number 6, a triangle bone with an anterior broad end and a pointed outer one. The triangle bone is the scapula, where the presence of the glenoid cavity and the head of the humerus fit inside it to form the shoulder joint. The next question. The largest bone of 7 tarsus that form the ankle. The question asks about the heel bone, which is the biggest one of the 7 tarsal bones. Number 8. A group of flowers on the floral axis in different aggregation. If the flower or the flower axis containing one flower that acts as a solitary flower, but the presence of group of flowers on the same axis, that's called the inflorescence. So the right answer is the inflorescence. Number 9. The fusion of the male nucleus with the 2 embryo sac nuclei to form the endosperm. That's triple fusion, because the pollen grain has 2 male nuclei. One of them is fused with the 2 embryo sac nuclei to form 3N endosperm, but the second male nucleus fused with the egg cell to form the zygote, and the zygote develop into the embryo, depends on the presence of the food, which is called the endosperm. So the number 9, the answer is the triple fusion. Number 10. The fruit in which the receptacle of any part sharing the ovary to store food as an apple. Of course, that's act as a false fruit. Any part of the flower as a receptacle sharing the ovary to form a fruit, that's this kind of fruit is called the false fruit. Number 11. The ability of the ovary to develop into seedless fruit without pollination. The development of the ovary to fruit without the presence of seeds, without pollination of fertilization, that's called the parthenocarpy. If the parthenocarpy takes place by man, that's called the artificial parthenocarpy. But if the parthenocarpy takes place naturally without the interference of the human being, that's called the natural parthenocarpy. So the right answer is the scapula, the heel, the inflorescence, the triple fusion, false fruit, and parthenocarpy. The next question. What would happen in each of the following with giving reasons? Number one, the secretion of the insufficient amount of FSH and LH hormone in the married woman. لما يقول لي insufficient حاجة أو removing أي حاجة لازم أشوف الفانكشن بتاعتها. إنه نعرف إن ال FSH hormone is a hormone that's secreted from the anterior lobe of the pituitary gland, and that stimulates the ovary to form a gravium follicle which containing the ovum. And also the LH hormone is secreted from the anterior lobe of the pituitary gland, and that stimulates the gravium follicle to release the mature ova and change into corpus luteum, which is responsible for the secretion of estrogen and the progesterone. So the absence or the presence of insufficient amount of FSH and the LH hormone that leads to sterility of the female or infertility. Number two, the two testes lies inside the body cavity in man. Of course, inside the body, the seminiferous tubules inside the testes can't produce sperms, but the production of sperms needs the presence of the two testes outside the body in the scrotum sac. So the presence of the testes inside the body that leads to the sterility or the absence of sperms, which is called infertility. The third part or the third question, the two ovaries are eradicated from the pregnant woman in the first month. That leads to abortion because the corpus luteum is located inside the ovaries, and it's responsible for the secretion of estrogen and the progesterone hormone, which increase the thickness of the endometrium and increase its vascularity. The removing of the ovaries, that means the removing of the corpus luteum, which leads to abortion. The next question. What would happen in each of the following with giving reasons? The polypodium plant spore cells fall on a dry soil. When the spore get on mud soil, that leads to germination of the spore, and the spore change into green heart-shaped structure, which is called the gametophyte. But the presence of the spore in dry soil, that means nothing will happen, and no germination takes place of the spore and no formation of gametophyte. Number 5, the absence of the midpiece of the sperm. The midpiece of the sperm containing mitochondria. The mitochondria is a center of energy production that produce energy to help the sperm to move to reach the ovum. The absence of midpiece, that means the absence of the energy to the sperm can't move and can't reach the ovum. Number 6, surrounding the ovule implant during the formation completely with the two integuments. Surrounding the embryo sac completely with the two integuments means the absence of micropyle. Absence of micropyle, that means no fertilization takes place. So no production of seeds. So the absence of the micropyle, that means no fertilization takes place of the flower. Number 7, the treatment of the growing tip of a plant with the mustard gas. We know that the mustard gas, colchicine and nitrous acid are chemical substances. When we treat the growing tip of the plant with the colchicine, nitrous acid or mustard gas, that means the dead will die, but the cells beyond these cells will divide to produce a number of cells which act as a polyploid due to the absence of the middle lamella that formed after the division of the cell. Compare between the sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. لما نيجي نعمل كومباريزون نبقى واخدين بالنا احنا يعني بنتكلم في جنب وبعدين الجنب التاني تقريبا بيبقى عكسه، علشان احنا في الكومباريزون بنشوف الديفرنشيشن اللي بين التو بوينتس اللي بنعمل بينهم كومباريزون. لما اجي اقول سيكشوال ريبرودكشن يبقى ده بيحصل في الهاير ولا في اللور ليفنج اورجانيزمز؟ هاير ليفنج اورجانيزمز. طب يبقى اول نقطه السيكشوال ده يبقى هاير، الاسيكشوال يبقى لور ليفنج اورجانيزم. طب ويعني ايه هاير ليفنج اورجانيزمز؟ ده higher living organisms يعني the adults are differentiated into males and females. يبقى هنا لازم في السexual reproduction يبقى takes place between male and female but in the asexual reproduction with or by single parent only. طب لما وصلنا للاسexual reproduction قلنا انها higher يعني في male وفيميل. طب وليه ميل وفيميل؟ هنا علشان production of male gametes and female gametes but no gametes are formed during the asexual reproduction. طب والجاميتس دي بتيجي منين؟ دي بتيجي من meiosis division. لكن كل الاسexual reproduction takes place by mitosis division. طب الميوزيس division ده بيحصل فيه crossing over وبيديني genetic variation but no genetic variation takes place in the asexual reproduction. طب طالما في genetic variation في السexual reproduction يبقى في different living organisms or the produced individual are different each other and different from the parents. But in the asexual reproduction all of them similar to each other genetically. طيب لما اجي للسexual reproduction الاقي ان السexual reproduction ده need the presence of amount of energy and more time, so that need also biological cost. But in the asexual reproduction it doesn't need more time, doesn't need more energy, doesn't need biological cost. طيب نبص على comparison كده هنلاقي ان ده takes place in higher organisms هنا lower takes place by two parents لان دول higher لازم يبقى في male وفيميل. تاني single parent. fusion between gametes يبقى علشان يبقى male وفيميل لازم يعملوا gametes والجاميتس اللي بعدها تبقى مايوزس التاني مايتوزس. طالما مايوزس يبقى في genetic variation هنا ما في genetic variation. طالما في variation يبقى في differentiation يعني living organism can adapt with the change in the environmental conditions but the asexual is not. The offspring are different عشان في genetic variation حصل by meiosis. Also the sexual reproduction need long time and high amount of energy for the maturation and the pregnancy. sexual reproduction محتاج وقت للبريجننس وبعد كده الامبريو اللي هيتولد او البيبي اللي هيتولد محتاج وقت علشان يكبر هياخد انرجي كتير ووقت كتير. ده مش بيحصل في الاسexual reproduction. Need high biological cost because females only can reproduce but in the asexual reproduction all the individual can reproduce so not need high amount of or high biological cost. That's the comparison between sexual and asexual reproduction. لما تبقى في comparison كتيرة بيسألني يقول لي compare between sexual and asexual in terms of dots 1 2 3 حسب ما هو عايز في نقط معينة مش بالضرورة يطلب الكومباريزون كلها. طبعا إجابتي بتبقى على النقط اللي هو طالبها. Compare between natural parthenocarpy and artificial parthenocarpy. The parthenocarpy is the ability of the ovary of the flower to develop to produce fruit without seeds. That takes place without pollination or fertilization. If that takes place naturally without the interference of the human beings, that's called the natural parthenogenesis, without using any stimuli. But the artificial parthenocarpy needs the presence of certain stimuli, as the spraying the indole or naphthol acetic acid on the stigma of the flower or the extraction of the pollen grain on the stigma of the flower. The example of the natural parthenocarpy as in the banana, the pineapple seedless, orange and the seedless grapes. But the artificial parthenocarpy such as that takes place in cucumber and tomato that act as a kind of parthenocarpy by the interference of the human beings. Therefore, that's called the artificial parthenocarpy. The next question. Compare between androsium and gynosium. The androsium is the male organ of the plant, but the gynosium is a female organ. The male organ of the plant, which is called the androsium, consists of a number of stamens. Each stamen consists of filament and anther. The anther containing 4 chambers or 4 sacs full of pollen grains. But the gynosium consists of the carpels. Each carpel consists of ovary, style, and stigma. The cells of the anther divided by mitosis to produce the male gametes or the pollen grains, but the cells of the ovary divided also by meiosis to produce female gametes which are called the ovules. The next question. Compare between tissue culture and embryonic culture. The tissue culture is a kind of asexual reproduction. If a small piece of plant or animal grow, that means the develop of these parts into complete plant parts. That takes place if this part of the plant is located in the nutritive medium, at the presence of the coconut milk as a medium, and the presence of the piece of carrot in a certain conical flask. That allows the piece of the carrot to develop to produce complete carrot plant. But the embryonic culture means the separating of the cells of early embryonic development stages and the culture of each of them in a female uterus to produce a complete individual. But the importance of tissue culture is the propagation of rare plant or desirable plant, shorten the time of cultivation, and also the solving the food problem by increasing the plant. The example in carrot and tobacco plants in tissue culture, but in the embryonic culture, that's propagate the rare animals or the animals that exposed to extinction, and also the kind act as a kind of asexual reproduction. The examples of the embryonic culture that takes place in carrot in the rabbits and mice. The next question. Compare between male gamete and the female gamete. The mother cell divided by meiosis to form 4 male gametes, but in the formation of the female gamete, 1 female gamete is formed and the 3 polar body from the mother cell. So the number of the male gametes are great in number, but the number of the female gametes are few in number. If the mother cell divided into 4 cells, that means that it produces great number male gametes and also little amount of cytoplasm and a little amount of food stored inside the male gamete. But in the female gamete, great amount of cytoplasm and food stored inside the female gamete. The male gamete is small because it can move by the presence of locomotory organs, but the big gamete or the big female gamete, it containing the embryo during the fertilization. It acts as a big gamete and can't move from place to another as that of the sperm or as a male gamete. The male gamete is mobile due to the presence of the movable organ, but no movable organ and no movable parts of the female gamete. The body shape of the male gamete is pointed, but the body shape of the female gamete is spherical. That's the comparison between male and the female gametes. The next question. Also, let's act as the other parts of the comparison as a function of the male gamete, which carries the genetic material to the female gamete, but the female gamete carries a genetic material of the female and develop after fertilization into embryo. The male gamete as that of the pollen grains which formed inside the answer, and the sperms which formed inside the testa and the antheridia of the fern plants. But the other example is the presence of the ovules as a plant in the ovary and the ova in the animals, and also the egg cell inside the archegonia in ferns. That's the complete comparison between male gamete and the female gamete. What about the comparison between external fertilization and the internal fertilization? External fertilization means takes place outside the female body, that only takes place in water, in the aquatic environment, animals or the aquatic animals, where the female put the eggs in water and the male put the sperms in water, and the fertilization takes place in water and the embryonic development takes place in water. But in the case of the internal fertilization, that means it takes place inside the female body, where the male introduces the sperms to the egg or to the ova inside the female body, and fertilization takes place inside the female body, and that takes place in mammals, and the embryonic development or the embryonic stages takes place completely inside the female body, as that in the mammals. But in the case of the external fertilization, the embryonic development stage are completed in water. At the aquatic animals, as that of the bony fish, the toads, and many living organisms which located inside the water. The next question. Compare between budding and regeneration. The budding takes place in unicellular and multicellular. In unicellular as yeast and multicellular as hydra and sponges. The budding act as a kind, both of them act as a kind of asexual reproduction. The bud grow from the interstitial cells in the multicellular living organisms, or one of the two, the nuclei or the nucleus divided into two nuclei. One of them is migrate to one or to a protrusion of the male or of the mother cell and form small cells. The small cell may still around the mother cell to form a colony, or separated to live independently away from the mother cell. But in the regeneration on the sponges, that takes place if the sponge is cut into many times, as that of the starfish and planaria also. The several parts, each part can grow to produce new individuals similar to the mother by mitosis division. The kinds of asexual reproduction takes place by mitosis because they produce individuals similar to the single parent or the living organism which carry out the kind of asexual reproduction. The next question. Write the site and the function of each of the following: the perimecium, the prostate gland, the cholinesterase enzyme. The perimecium is the membrane that located around the muscular bundle. The muscular bundle is surrounded by the perimecium. It connects a group of muscle fibers to form the muscle bundle. That's the function of the perimecium. But the acrosome is the part of the head of the sperm that is responsible for the secretion of the hyaluronase enzyme that dissolves the hyaluronic acid which adhere the coat around the ovum to facilitate its penetration during the fertilization process. The cholinesterase enzyme. The cholinesterase enzyme is the enzyme that located at the neuromuscular junction as a site, but it's responsible for destroying the acetylcholine into choline and acetate after performing its function. So it returns the muscle plate from the state of depolarization into repolarization. The hyaluronic, the prostate gland. The prostate gland is located on at the male reproductive system around the neck of the urinary bladder. It's responsible for the secretion of the sugary solution to feed the sperms, and also secrete alkaline substance to neutralize the acidic urinogenital duct to facilitate the passage of the sperms which can't live in the acidic medium. But the corpus luteum, the site of the corpus luteum inside the female ovary, it's responsible for the secretion of estrogen and the progesterone hormone. The corpus luteum is a gravium follicle after releasing the mature ova. The next question. What about the hyaluronic acid? The hyaluronic acid is the acid that adheres the coat around the ovum, but it's dissolved by the hyaluronase enzyme which is secreted from the acrosome to help the ovum to fertilize it to change into zygote. The gametophyte in the furnace or the life cycle of Polypodium or Adiantum plants as the examples of the furnace. The gametophyte responsible for carrying the male organ and the female organs. The male organs which are called antheridia, but the female organs are called the archegonia. The male organ responsible for the secretion or the formation of the ciliated sperms which act as the male gamete, but the archegonia responsible for the secretion of the egg cell which act as a female gamete. That's the end of this revision My dear students, thank you very much. Goodbye and good luck.